Did America attack Venezuela? It's a question a lot of people are asking, and the answer isn't a simple yes or no. You won't find stories of traditional military invasions or large-scale battles. Instead, the conflict between the United States and Venezuela is a complex web of economic sanctions, intense political pressure, and allegations of covert operations. These actions have had a profound impact on Venezuela's economy, its leadership, and the daily lives of millions of its citizens. To really get to the bottom of this, we need to dive into a story of oil, ideology, and the high-stakes game of global power politics. So let's unpack one of the most controversial geopolitical relationships of our time. To understand why Venezuela is so important, you just need to look at a map of global energy resources. Venezuela sits on the largest proven oil reserves in the entire world. For most of the 20th century, this black gold made it a key strategic partner for the United States. Venezuela was a close ally. American oil companies had significant operations there, and a steady flow of Venezuelan oil helped fuel the American economy. It seemed like a stable partnership, but things began to shift as Venezuelan leaders started pushing for more control over their own natural resources. They wanted a bigger piece of the pie from the wealth being extracted from their land. This growing desire for sovereignty planted the seeds of conflict. Oil, which was Venezuela's greatest asset, was also becoming its greatest vulnerability, placing it right in the crosshairs of international interests. The relationship took a dramatic turn in 1998 with the election of Hugo Chavez. He came to power on a powerful promise to lift millions out of poverty, challenge the influence of the United States in Latin America, and use the country's immense oil wealth to fund a social revolution. Chavez's ideology was socialist and strongly anti-imperialist. He was shy about criticizing American foreign policy and actively sought to build alliances with countries that Washington viewed as rivals, like Cuba, Russia, and Iran. From the U.S. perspective, this was an alarming development. A once reliable oil supplier in its own backyard was now led by a charismatic figure determined to forge a new path, one that directly opposed American dominance in the region. The stage was set for a major confrontation, and U.S.-Venezuela relations began a steep and rapid decline. One of the most explosive moments in this deteriorating relationship happened in April 2002. For a brief 48-hour period, Hugo Chavez was forcibly removed from power in a coup. The coup ultimately failed, as massive popular protests and loyal factions of the military demanded his return, and he was quickly reinstated. However, the United States was immediately accused of being involved. Washington officially denied any direct role, but it did acknowledge meeting with opposition figures who were planning the coup. Later, declassified documents revealed that U.S. intelligence agencies had prior knowledge of the plot. For Chavez and his supporters, this was undeniable proof of American interference. It solidified the narrative that the U.S. was actively trying to undermine their democratically elected government, and this event created a deep sense of mistrust that has poisoned relations ever since. After Chavez's death in 2013, his successor, Nicolas Maduro, took over. The situation escalated even further. The United States, along with many other Western nations, accused the Maduro government of widespread corruption, rigging elections, and severe human rights abuses. In response, Washington unleashed a series of crippling economic sanctions. These weren't just targeted at individuals. They went after the heart of the Venezuelan economy, its state-run oil industry, and its ability to access international financial markets. The official goal was to pressure the Maduro regime into holding free and fair elections. Supporters of this strategy argue it's a nonviolent way to punish an authoritarian government, but critics, including many economists and human rights organizations, say the sanctions have had a devastating effect, collapsing an already fragile economy, fueling hyperinflation, and causing severe shortages of food, medicine, and other basic necessities. They argue that these sanctions have hurt ordinary Venezuelan citizens far more than the political elites they were meant to target. Beyond the economic pressure, Venezuela has consistently accused the U.S. of engaging in a campaign of destabilization. These allegations include providing financial and strategic support to opposition leaders, encouraging high-ranking military officials to defect, and even backing failed uprisings. The tension reached a boiling point in 2019 when the United States took the extraordinary step of officially recognizing opposition leader Juan Guaido as the legitimate interim president of Venezuela, effectively declaring Maduro's government illegitimate. From Caracas, this was seen as a direct political attack on their national sovereignty. And while U.S. officials repeatedly stated that a peaceful, diplomatic solution was their preferred outcome, phrases like "all options are on the table" were frequently used by top-level policymakers. This ambiguous language was interpreted by many in Venezuela and across the world as a thinly veiled threat of military intervention, keeping the country on edge. When you strip away all the political maneuvering and international headlines, the real story is about the immense suffering of the Venezuelan people. The last decade has been a catastrophe for them. Hyperinflation has made their currency practically worthless, wiping out life savings overnight. A staggering humanitarian crisis has unfolded, forcing millions of people to flee their homes and seek refuge in neighboring countries, creating one of the largest migration crises in the world. Inside Venezuela, the healthcare and education systems, once the pride of the nation, have crumbled. Hospitals lack basic supplies and food shortages are a part of daily life. Who is to blame? It's a fiercely debated question. Some point squarely at the corruption and economic mismanagement of the Venezuelan government. Others argue that punishing U.S. sanctions are the primary cause of the collapse. The reality is that it is likely a devastating combination of both a perfect storm of internal failures and crippling external pressures. So let's go back to our original question. Did America attack Venezuela? If you're thinking of a traditional war with soldiers and bombs, the answer is no. But if you define an attack more broadly, the picture changes. Through what many call economic warfare, relentless political intervention, crippling sanctions, and diplomatic isolation, the United States has undeniably played a central role in Venezuela's ongoing crisis. This situation isn't just about two countries, it highlights a much larger global debate. Is it ever justified for powerful nations to intervene so forcefully in the internal affairs of others, even with the stated goal of promoting democracy? Or does that intervention, no matter how well-intentioned, risk making a bad situation catastrophically worse? There are no easy answers, but understanding Venezuela's story is crucial for grasping the true human cost of power politics in our modern world. Thanks for watching. If you found this breakdown helpful, be sure to like this video and subscribe for more deep dives into complex global issues.